What would drive a man to pull a gun on a hero in a place meant for grief? The rain fell in a steady whisper over St. Mary's Cemetery, cloaking the mourners in a haze of gray. Officer Daniel Hargrove stood at the edge of the crowd, his uniform damp, his hand resting uneasily on his holster. The funeral was for a fallen soldier, a young man whose name was etched on every heart in the small town of Ashwood. But Daniel's eyes weren't on the coffin. They were locked on General Marcus Tate, the decorated war hero leading the service, his dark skin gleaming under the drizzle, his medals catching faint light. Daniel's jaw tightened. He'd heard the rumors about Tate, whispers of favoritism, of a black general who'd risen too fast, too far. To Daniel, it wasn't right. He'd served Ashwood for 20 years, seen good men passed over, and now this outsider was the town's pride. The resentment had festered for weeks, ever since Tate arrived to honor the fallen. Today it boiled over. As Tate spoke, his voice steady and resonant, Daniel's hand twitched. The crowd was silent, hanging on the general's words, but Daniel heard only his own pulse. He stepped forward, boots sinking into the mud, and drew his service weapon. Gasps rippled through the mourners. Tate turned, his eyes meeting the barrel, unflinching. "Put it down, son," he said, calm as stone. Daniel's voice cracked as he shouted, "You don't belong here." The accusation hung heavy, laced with venom that had no place at a funeral. The crowd froze. A woman screamed. Then, a figure emerged from the mourners, a teenage girl, no older than 16, her face streaked with tears. It was Sarah, the sister of the fallen soldier. She stepped between Daniel and Tate, her small frame trembling but defiant. "This is my brother's funeral," she said, voice breaking. "You're the one who doesn't belong." Her words cut deeper than any blade, and for a moment, Daniel wavered. The weight of his actions pressed against his chest, but pride held his arms steady. What Daniel didn't know was that Sarah's words were being recorded. A bystander's phone captured every second: the gun, the general's calm, the girl's courage. By nightfall, the video was everywhere, spreading like wildfire across the internet. Ashwood's hero cop was now its villain. The department acted swiftly, suspending Daniel pending investigation. But the truth was uglier than anyone expected. In the days that followed, evidence surfaced. Old complaints against Daniel, racial slurs, excessive force, buried by a system that protected its own. The funeral incident wasn't a moment of madness. It was a breaking point. The trial came fast, the courtroom packed with faces from the cemetery and beyond. General Tate took the stand, not as a victim, but as a witness to Daniel's unraveling. He spoke of service, of honor, of a country that demanded better. Sarah testified too, her voice steady now, recounting her brother's pride in serving under Tate. Each word was a brick in the wall closing around Daniel. The twist came late in the trial. Daniel's partner, Officer Lena Brooks, took the stand. She was a quiet woman, loyal to Daniel for years, but her testimony shattered the defense. She revealed Daniel's private rants, his obsession with Tate's rise, his belief that people like him were stealing what belonged to others. Lena's voice shook as she confessed to staying silent too long, her own guilt spilling out. The courtroom felt the shift. Daniel wasn't just a man undone by rage. He was a product of a poison that had gone unchecked. When the guilty verdict came, life without parole, Daniel's face crumpled. The man who'd stood tall in the rain now sobbed, not for the general or the town he'd betrayed, but for the life he'd lost to his own hatred. The judge's gavel fell like a thunderclap. Tate watched silently, his expression unreadable, while Sarah clutched her mother's hand. In the end, the story wasn't about Daniel's tears or Tate's triumph. It was about a girl who stood up, a town that faced its shadows, and a general who carried the weight of both with grace. Ashwood would heal, but it would never forget. Neither would Daniel, alone in a cell, haunted by a moment that could have been different. Yindi.